So this is going to be another rebel media response. I know they're low-hanging fruit, but I'm going for a little bit of higher-hanging fruit this time than I did before. So I'm going to respond to Gavin McInnes, and I know that some of you guys probably like him. I've heard that he's been rational on some areas, but in this, I think he's kind of reaching a little bit. So he's going to talk about movies being politically correct, and though I do think this is something that definitely happens, and I do think it makes movies worse when it's very clear they're trying to be politically correct. At the same time, I don't think this is a huge pressing issue. I don't think it's a big thing to complain about when it comes to movies or music or entertainment. Those things are just very petty, in my opinion, to be complaining about and complaining that they have some big effect in the world. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, this film has a bad message and I don't like this film because of that. But it's another thing to say, movies are destroying society. Movies are badly influencing our children. You know, that's the kind of thing SJWs say. It's the kind of thing SJWs complain about. They complain about movies being too not politically correct. So I just don't see why it's a big thing to complain about, and though I'm sure I'm going to agree with him in some parts of this video, I just don't see why he's complaining. So yeah, this is basically me complaining about him complaining. I realize that. So let's just get in the video. Okay, I do have to say the intro music is pretty good, but the viewer discretion is really cringy. This content is rated rebellious, get it? 'Cause rebel media, get it? Viewer discretion is advised, includes satire, mature content. So I get he's trying to be funny, but it's cringy.
Went to see Spider-Man with the kids the other night. All kids love Spider-Man. Although my kids were the only kids at the theater because we have an infantilized adulthood with a bunch of geriatric teenagers going to see all these superhero movies. Superheroes, by the way, are made for little kids to pretend that they can beat up adults. As an adult, you can beat up an adult.
Okay, two things. First of all, he's saying his kids were the only kids at the theater because there were a bunch of adults that he thinks have been kind of pussified or infantilized or whatever. So what's the problem with adults going to see Spider-Man? The whole thing with Marvel is that they have expanded their viewer audience. They realize that they can get a more mature audience, right? So they make movies that are more targeted at that. And I get Spider-Man was PG-13. It was more directed at teenagers and kids. But what's the problem with adults going to see it? Why is this an issue? What do you think Deadpool was? That was for adults. Marvel is trying to reach to adults, and you somehow don't realize that. Second of all, I know what this is going to be about. He's probably going to complain about Spider-Man being politically correct. And though I do think there were a couple of little things that they inserted in there that seemed kind of PC and cringy, there was just two things. It wasn't the whole movie was like that. It was, for the most part, a very entertaining movie. And I'm not going to complain about the few things they said. I can only think of two things. The one thing I think of is when they're something about Indians, and they're actually it's Native Americans. And then when they were talking about, oh, I don't want to laud a monument that was built by slaves. And they're oh, this wasn't built by slaves. And then there was the guy looking at them to imply that it was, so it was just kind of a joke. Both of those were the only things that I noticed, and they weren't huge issues. I was still able to enjoy the movie without those things. Why can't you, a full-grown man, do that?
But anyway, I'm watching it, and I noticed there's this PC tinge to it that seems to be infecting all movies now. And oh, what's the matter, Gavin? You don't like seeing black people on the TV? You don't like gays? You don't like seeing diversity? Yeah.
Okay, so he's gonna argue that this is a PC thing that's in all movies, and that Spider-Man had a PC tinge to it, which again, I only noticed two things. It wasn't it was the whole movie. And I don't think all movies try to be PC like that. And then he's saying that the counter-argument is that people are saying he's a bigot. And I'm sure there are plenty of SJWs saying he's a bigot for this, but that's not what everybody's arguing. Everybody's arguing this is just too petty of a thing for you to be complaining about.
What I don't like is that you think I don't like it, and you think you're blowing my mind. It's like when you see a white girl with a black guy and they're holding hands, and she looks at you what do you think of this? I think you're having sex with a guy you're in love with. How brave. I'm not annoyed by the race thing, but I am annoyed that you think I would be. It's insulting.
Okay, yeah, he does make a good point here. They shouldn't make a big deal out of things like interracial relationships or black characters being cast or something. They shouldn't make a big deal out of that because should just be treated as normal things. So you do make a good point there.
So these movies doing this, like, oh yeah, Spider-Man's black. I think he's gay in the comic books. But the fact that you're doing that and you have this sort of, what do you think now, buddy, bothers me.
Okay, yes, I agree. It's completely stupid when comics try to enforce diversity, and they don't just, have diverse characters. They try to enforce it. There's a difference between having diverse characters and enforcing diversity, and I do agree that enforcing diversity is the problem. But, again, just a movie, man. Why does that bother you so much?
Because you're calling me racist, basically. That's what all these movies are doing. They're telling America that they need to update their horrible, archaic beliefs, but America doesn't have those beliefs, so fuck you for saying we do. And surely, even if you were a social justice warrior, wouldn't you get sick of seeing your own shit on everything? If I was a punk rocker and every movie had a punk angle to it, where the punk was the brain surgeon, and guess who saves the day? The punk rockers. They're the ones who catch the terrorists. After a while, you'd go, can we take it easy on my own favorite thing? I'm getting sick of having my favorite meal every night. And then at breakfast and lunch, too.
I assume he's trying to make a joke here, but I didn't find that funny. Also, he's saying, even if you were a social justice warrior, it's not just SJWs who are enforcing this. I'm pretty sure it is mostly SJWs who try to enforce diversity and stuff. Also, you're saying that it assumes that Americans are naturally racist. I don't think the PC-ness in movies tries to say that. It just says, oh, look at this, there's a black guy, it's special. That's all they're saying. They're not necessarily saying that Americans are racist. I still agree it's stupid, but I don't think that's the message of it.
But anyway, in this movie, it starts out and you see the new MJ, right? She's black. They've changed her now. And Peter Parker's, whoa, she's so hot, that black chick. And then the super smart teacher goes, hey, Parker, pay attention. And then we zoom in on, sorry. And then, of course, she's a black woman. And then we see Flying Vulture, the bad guy. We meet him at home. He's got a black wife. And the other cool person in the movie is the head of the debate club. It's this cool black chick who's sort of over everything. Fuck you. And there's a scene where the debate club goes to the Washington Monument, and Peter Parker's there, and they're all walking in, and then the stupid white male teacher goes, aren't you coming in? And she goes, no, thanks, I don't want to go to a building built by slaves. And he goes, I don't think it was built by slaves. And the black security guard looks over and he goes, kind of was, man. And he goes, oh, I'm stupid.
Okay, so yeah, the whole joke with it being built by slaves, I do feel was kind of they're trying to push it in it was PC, and maybe that the black girl character on the debate team was also trying to push a sort of SJW agenda. But again, it wasn't a big thing. There was just that joke, and then just the thing about the Native Americans, and that was literally it. I wasn't really bothered by that. I was just oh, that's kind of SJW, but I don't care. Because it's not a harmful thing that SJWs are trying to do. There are much worse things that SJWs are trying to do other than movies. Come on. And then before, he was bitching about all of the black women characters and all the black characters. Now, maybe they were cast in some kind of a quota or something, and they were doing it to be PC. I really don't know. It's harder when it comes to casting and things like that, whether they're trying to be SJWs or PC or whatever. I really don't know. But he's asserting that, oh no, the only reason why there are black people in this film is because SJWs. Or what if they just were good for the role? It could have been that. You don't know.
You don't know!
And that's the movie. His best friend's Asian and the bully's Indian, and it's a big Benetton ad. I obviously don't give a shit about that.
Okay, you claim you don't give a shit about it, but then you go on to complain about it. I don't get the logic here. And yeah, maybe they did hire the black and Asian characters on some kind of a quota, but I really don't know. And by the way, the Asian kid who played Peter Parker's friend, I thought he was a really good actor. He was really funny. So I don't care even if they put him on some kind of a quota, because he did his job. I would argue that Peter Parker's potential girlfriend was a pretty good actress too. Does it really matter who they're hiring, even if it's on some stupid quota, as long as they do a good job? The only real problem I see in movies is when they hire someone just because they're black, and then that person doesn't do a good job because they didn't hire them for their acting abilities. But the acting was universally pretty good. Well, except I didn't really like Michael Keaton in that film, not necessarily because he was acting, but just because of his character. But that's the only person I really had a problem with. Like, what are you even saying?
But I give a shit that you think I give a shit. And then when I got home, I checked out the upcoming movies on IMDb just to see if this was just, they're trying a crazy thing. We're going to make a Benetton version of Spider-Man. And I realized 100% of movies have a social justice warrior bent to them. Can you pull them up here?
Really? All of them, man? All of them. Like, what about those stupid, cringy Christian movies like, I don't know, I'm Not Ashamed or The Torchbearer or something? You really think those are all SJWs?
All right, let's start with Dunkirk. Gavin, that's all white dudes. It's about World War II and D-Day, I believe, or it's about a horrible time in World War II. Big budget film. Yes, that's true. It is all white dudes. World War II was a lot of white dudes. And this is relevant for my hypothesis here because Dunkirk got in shit for this. People were mad at Dunkirk for having so many white guys in a realistic movie about World War II.
Okay, well then they shouldn't have been upset about that. How was that prove that the movie has an SJW bent? SJWs didn't like it. That would actually be against your theory.
They're making video games about World War II now with black Nazis and black guys fighting black guys, which is the Nazis versus the Americans, because diversity has to be everywhere, even in history. We have to enforce this pizza pie, even if it goes against actual historical facts.
Okay, I agree that it's stupid that they had black Nazis there, because I don't think there are very many black Nazis. From what I understand, the Nazis were pretty racist against black people. Not the same thing like they did with the Nuremberg laws. So black people weren't the most persecuted group, obviously, but they still did experience a lot of discrimination in Nazi Germany. So yeah, that is stupid. That is not really reflective of history. But what he's implying here is that people are trying to revise history, which they might very well be doing. But he's implying that has like some really negative effect on society, which I don't think it does. I think that's just people being stupid.
So Dunkirk, though not being politically correct, counts because they tried to make it politically correct. Next. What else do we got? Valerian. Okay, fictional movie, Gav. That's science fiction. That's Star Wars. Why are you bringing that in? Because the protagonist, that chick, is bisexual. And they're making this a big thing, like our first bisexual protagonist. It's, by the way, bisexual, shut the fuck up. If you're at the peak of your attractiveness and you're a chick and you make out with other chicks occasionally, I'm not impressed. You want to be bisexual? Try doing it when you're my age, when you're ugly. Like, do it with a bunch of ugly 46-year-olds, and then we'll see how bisexual you are. Every chick is bisexual at that age. We called them lugs, lesbian until graduation.
Okay, again, he's attempting to be funny. I don't know if I just don't find his sense of humor very funny, or if he's legitimately not funny, because I'm not laughing at any of this. But, yeah, after making a big deal out of her being bisexual, that's stupid. Like, we all get that.
But anyway, they have to make that about gender. What's this now? Girls trip. So we got the feminist angle. Men are objectified. I'm looking at this black guy's schlong on the poster. Right on, ladies.
Okay, he's claiming that this movie is a feminist movie and that it objectifies men. And maybe it does objectify men. But what's the issue with that? Like, I really don't see the problem with objectification. Like, I did a video a long time ago on how it's usually not meant to be sexist. It's usually meant as a joke or something like that. So I really don't see the issue with men being objectified, just like I don't see an issue with women being objectified. And where is it implied that it's a feminist movie? It's just a chick flick. Chick flick does not equal feminist movie.
You're so empowered. Women love strip clubs, don't they? Yeah, right. That's why they're screaming their heads off and laughing hysterically while we go to strip club and just sip our beer as we stare at a tit. For us, strip clubs are woman church. For them, it's just a lark. But anyway, go ahead. What's next? Landline. In 1995, a teenager living with her sister and parents in Manhattan discovers that her father is having an affair. What a stupid jerk white man. And what an empowered woman learning all about how shitty men are.
How does that imply that? It's just about a father having an affair. It's not applying that to all men or saying that women are empowered or anything. It's just about a father having an affair. You're reading way far into this, which is exactly what SJWs do.
Next. The midwife. A midwife gets unexpected news from her father's old mistress. 2 cheating men, 2 cheating fathers in a row. All right, next. Also the pro-life angle.
What did he mention about pro-life? I don't get it. I mean, maybe it has a pro-life angle to it, but that wouldn't even be SJWs. What are you even talking about? I don't understand.
The Emoji Movie. Okay, this movie, I've realized a lot of these kids' movies are about being gay. Like, remember the elf? The elf from Red-Nosed Reindeer who doesn't want to be an elf because that's not what he's a dentist. I'm like a dentist, you guys! Clearly, they were saying that you can be gay if you want to be gay if you're born gay, which I'm obviously fine with, but stop saying it to me again and again like I don't want that. Like I want to tell a gay kid that he can't be gay. There's a tiny contingent of maniacal Christians who do that. The rest of us go, oh, well. So in this Emoji Movie, he's supposed to be a blasé whatever emoji, but he's not that. He wasn't born that way. Even though his parents want him to be that way, he's not that way. He's a kooky, funny guy. So you can be different than what your parents want you to be. Thanks. Kids are gay. Got it.
I honestly can't tell if he was being sarcastic about the whole kids being gay thing. I just want to assume he was, because I don't want to assume that he's this idiotic. Yes, of course, the Emoji Movie was a terrible movie. And I did actually hear it had some SJW parts to it that weren't about being gay. It was more like a feminist thing. But I don't even get what this angle he's going on. And the thing is that I'm sure there were probably plenty of people in Rebel Media like, yeah, I agree with you, Gavin. I agree with you 100% when what he's talking about doesn't even make sense in a lot of things.
All right, next. Another feminist movie, Atomic Blonde. I would pay $1 million to see Charlize Theron beat up 3 actual Russian agents. The actress I'm talking about. Let's see her beat up 3 Russian agents. Nick DiPaolo says, where he goes, my suspension, I can't watch movies anymore. My suspension of disbelief, can't watch Angelina Jolie beat up 6 Green Berets. Every time I try to do Nick DiPaolo, I stutter.
Okay, I did actually laugh a little when he was quoting the guy about Angelina Jolie beating up six Green Berets, whatever he said. I did actually laugh at that, because it is kind of unrealistic that there are just these super Mary Sue badass people who beat up people. But what's wrong with that? Like, those movies are entertaining. I haven't seen Atomic Blonde yet, but I really want to see it, because it does look like an awesome movie. Why? Just because there's an awesome woman in it doesn't make it a feminist movie. Just like because there's an awesome man in something doesn't make it an MRA movie. What are you talking about?
Let's see what else we got. By the way, women cannot beat up Russian agents, okay? Maybe Ronda Rousey. Maybe, and I doubt it. An Inconvenient sequel. Okay, more climate change. Meanwhile, An Inconvenient Truth talked about how 2016 will all be underwater. Now they do a sequel and just update it. This is like these doomsday cultists who say the world's going to end on August 16th. And then on August 17th, they have more members.
Okay, so he's claiming that talking about global warming is PC. No, that's just talking about science. Now, to be fair, I do agree that in An Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore kind of went on like the more extreme sides of what could happen during climate change, and he wasn't necessarily accurate. He just kind of went through the higher side of the projection. But still, talking about climate change does not make an SJW movie.
What's this next one? Menashe. With Brooklyn's ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, a widower battles for custody of his son. A tender drama performed entirely in Yiddish. But what percentage of the population is this? The film intimately explores the nature of faith and the price of parenthood. This might be the least politically correct out of all these movies, and it's way over on the left.
How's it over on the left? It's about Jewish people. I mean, it is talking about trying to fight within the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community, so maybe it's about going against, like, very right-wing ideas. But still, like, ultra-Orthodox is extremely right-wing. Like, what are you talking about? And also, it just sounds like an indie film. Like, he's probably, the way he scrolled down, how far he scrolled down, is probably just indie films. If it's performed entirely in Yiddish, it's probably just somebody's film project. What are you talking? Oh my god. This is hurting my brain.
What else do we got here? From the Land of the Moon. 1950s Gabrielle is a passionate woman who has to go away to treat her kidney stones. And she falls in love, even though she's the sick, dying woman. The world's against her.
Again, how does that make it feminist just because it's about a woman?
Then we have a movie we've never heard of called The Midwife, which is also coming. Not to be confused with the exact same movie that is coming a few titles earlier.
Maybe that was just a mistake on IMDb. I guess he's trying to be funny, but it's not working.
Okay, that's just one strip, though. Go next to see if it keeps going, and I just chose a coincidental bunch. Nope, Dark Tower. It's a black James Bond guy.
Okay, fuck you, honestly. Idris Elba is awesome. Don't try to say that Dark Tower is PC just because it has Idris Elba in it.
Detroit is all about how horrible we are and how these young African men were murdered at the Algiers Hotel. Nothing about the state of Detroit today and what Democratic leadership has done to the poor there.
How does it being about the Detroit Rebellion make it saying that Americans are bad or that white people are bad or whatever? I don't get the extrapolation he's getting from this.
Midnight Sun, what do we got here? Another sick woman, oh, she needs help, and then men are there. Then what do we got? Step, what's Step about? Step documents senior young high school dance team against the background of inner city Baltimore. Okay, that's actually, again, this is considered, that's the least left-wing propaganda thing here. At least it's true.
Okay, so for both of those, I think he was implying that they were PC because they had women in them. How?
Wind River, we got another tough balls out chick. That was annoying about Jason Bourne, too. The main woman that was going to get him back in the Secret Service was a broad, a super hot model, and a hacker. My suspension of disbelief has a hernia at this point.
Okay, I get that the Mary Sue characters are sort of hard to believe in, but that does not make it SJW or PC or whatever. What are you even saying?
All right, keep going. I mean, when do we stop here? Poor woman, glass castle, what else? Dysfunctional family, women are victims.
How does a female protagonist who is going through something difficult or starts out disadvantaged, how does that make it look like women are victims? If it was a man doing the same thing, you wouldn't be complaining about it.
Keep going. Nutjob cartoon probably has something about the evil man that wants to city mayor from destroying their home. Yeah, it's always an evil capitalist.
What? Where are you getting this extrapolation from? Just because it has an evil man or an evil rich man, it must be sexist against men or anti-capitalist or something. What are you even saying? I really hope he's being sarcastic and like doing an impression of somebody who's anti-SJW and takes it too far, but knowing this is Rebel Media, it's probably not.
Ingrid Goes West. What else? I bet there's I think there's a doozy at the bottom here because I can't go through them all. Hitman's Bodyguard, Black Dude.
Oh yeah, Black Dude automatically makes it PC.
Patty Cakes, All Saints. Keep going. Polaroid, Tulip Fever, Beach Rats, Gook. Yeah, that's it. Gook, racist. Eli and Daniel, two Korean-American brothers, own a struggling shoe store and have an unlikely friendship with a black woman, a streetwise 11-year-old African-American girl. And it's all about surviving this evil, racist country where races come together and they survive.
Okay, a movie about people overcoming racism does not necessarily make it SJW. It might very well be, but it doesn't necessarily make it SJW. And also, that looks like another indie film, to be honest. Why are you bitching about indie films? They're indie films.
Remember when Crash won, even though nobody saw it, but it had a politically correct plot, so it gets the awards. Hollywood keeps doing this, and it keeps losing money. It's the Ghostbusters phenomenon all over again. Even Rogue One had to ram this shit down our throats. Guys, American Sniper grossed more movies than all other movies that year combined because it focused on being a good movie. We're not offended when you ram politically correct bullshit down our throat. We're bored. Stop boring us and focus on making a good movie, please.
Okay, so he does make good points here. When films try to be too PC, they do often end up suffering in terms of plot, in terms of character development. And I do agree that that is an issue. In film. That's not like some big world issue, A. B, he's saying that he's not offended, just bored. And I would agree that, yeah, they do tend to be boring, and you shouldn't be offended by them. But he does seem pretty offended by it, just based on this video, and basing that he's extrapolating PC plots out of films where they clearly don't really exist. So that was the end of this video. I know I was basically complaining about him complaining, but really I think this is a case of being anti-SJW and taking it too far. When you're seeing SJW things in places where they clearly don't exist, and then complaining even when it's a smaller thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.
Feel the funk blast!